Hello all, welcome to the value added course on Python programming for beginners. As part of week 10, in this module 13, we are going to discuss about files. The content for this video is first we will discuss about introduction concepts of files, file path, types of files, and how to open file and close the file. Coming to the introduction, a file is a collection of related data stored on a secondary storage devices like the hard disk. Hard disk is used to permanently store data in a non-volatile memory. Example, disk. In memory, we have two types, read-only memory and ra random access memory. Read-only memory is a non-volatile memory. Random access memory, you can call them it as RAM, is volatile, which loses its data when computer is turned off. We use files for future use of the data. Data we are stored on non-volatile storage media is stored in named locations on the media called as files. Working with files is similar to working with a notebook. Normally, when we want to use a notebook, first we will open it. Once we open the notebook, we can read the contents that already written on it, or we can write some new content into it. Then after the uses, we can close it. The same concept can be applied to files also. We first open a file, then we can perform the operation either read or write, then we will close it. A file is basically used because real life applications involve large amounts of data, and in those situations, the console oriented input output operation poses two major problems. The first problem is it becomes difficult to use and time consuming to handle huge amount of data through terminals. And secondly, when we are doing I by O using terminal, the entire data will be lost when either the program is terminated or computer is turned off. Therefore, it becomes necessary to store data on a permanent storage like disks, and whenever necessary, we have to read from it without destroying any data. In order to use files, we have to learn file input and output operations, that is, how the data is read or written to a file. Although file input output operations is almost same as terminal I by O, the only difference is that when we are doing file input output, the user must specify the name of the file form which data should be read or written. Coming to the file part, files are stored on a storage medium like the hard disk in such a way that they can be easily retrieved as and when required. Most file systems that are used nowadays stores files in a tree structure or hierarchical structure. At the top of the tree is one root node or more root nodes. Under the root node, there are other files and folders. So folders are also called as directories, and each folder can in turn contain subfolders and files. Even these folders can contain other files and folders, and this can go on to an almost limitless depth. Already we said that we are following hierarchical structure, so we can start from the root node and we can go up to limitless depth. The type of file is indicated by its extension. So we have different types of files. So every file is represented by its extension. So now this is the example for file path. So normally in our systems, we have different drives. We can call them as drives, but we can call them as roots. So for example, in this example, C, C drive. So C drive is, C is called as root. Then in the C drive, we have three folders: teachers, students, and staff. And in students folder, again, we have two subfolders: undergraduate and postgraduate. And in undergraduate folder, we have a file PEADS2.doc. Here, the .doc is the extension. Consider the tree structure given in previous figure. Every file is identified by its path that's begin from the root node or the root folder. In Windows, C:/, also known as C drive, is the root folder, but we can also have a path that starts from other drives like D, E, etc. The file path is also known as path name. So for example, in the previous figure, the file be_ads2doc file is stored in the C drive. So now C drive has a folder students, which in turn has a subfolder. So that is subfolder means folder within a folder name graduate. The subfolder graduate has the desired file. So the path of this file can be written as C:/, the folder name students slash the undergraduate is the subfolder undergraduate slash be_ads2.doc. The characters after the dot from the extension of the file. So for example, .doc indicates that the file is a Word document. The character used to separate the folder names, also called as the delimiter, is specific to the file system. So here in this example, we have used slash backslash. So now backslash is the delimiter, and Microsoft Windows uses this backslash as delimiter, while the Solaris operating system uses the forward slash. In file path, we have two more terms called as relative path and absolute path. Any file path can be either relative or absolute path. A relative path is specified relative to the programs that are under current working directory. Now we will discuss about relative path and absolute path. While an absolute path always contains the root and the complete directory list to specify the exact location of the file. So that means always the absolute path starts from the root directory. So root directory, then folder, then subfolders and the file name. Relative path, on the other hand, needs to be combined with another path in order to access a file. That is, a relative path name starts with respect to the current working directory and therefore lacks the leading slashes. For example, C:/students/undergraduates/beads2.doc is the absolute path, as all the information needed to locate the file is contained in the path. But only undergraduate slash be_ads2.doc is a relative path, as only a part of the complete path is specified, and we are starting with only the current working directory undergraduate. There is a small note. When a relative path is specified, the relative path is joined with the current working directory to create an absolute path. In our example, if the current working directory is students, then the relative path undergraduate underscore BAIDS2.doc is also equivalent to it using its absolute path. At this particular point, both absolute path and relative path are same when the current working directory is in C drive students folder. Next, coming to the types of files. So Python supports two types of files. Text files are ASCII text files and binary files. Text files. These files are used to store character data. Binary files. These files are used to store binary data like images, video files, and audio files, etc. First, we will discuss about text files. So, text files are ASCII text files. A text file or ASCII text file is a stream of characters that can be sequentially processed by a computer in forward direction. For this reason, a text file is usually open for only one kind of operation, either for reading or writing or appending at any given time. Because text files can process characters, they can only read or write data one character at a time. In Python, a text stream is treated as a special kind of file. Depending on the requirements of the operating system and on the operation that has to be performed, either read or write operation on the file, the new line characters may be converted to or from carriage, return, or line feed combinations. What is the meaning of carriage returns? Means moves the cursor to the beginning of the line without advancing to the next line. What is line feed? Means moves the cursor down to the next line without returning to the beginning of the line. Beside this, other character conversions may also be done to satisfy the storage requirements of the operating system. However, these conversions occur transparently to process a text file. In a text file, each line contains 0 or more characters and ends with one or more characters that specify the end of line. Each line in a text file can have maximum of 255 characters. When data is written to a text file, each new line character is converted to either carriage return or line feed character. Similarly, whenever we return data onto a text file, each carriage return or line feed character is converted to new line character. Another important thing is that when a text file is used, there are actually two representations of data, either internal or external. For example, an integer value will be represented as a number that occupies 2 or 4 bytes of memory internally. But externally, the integer value will be represented as a string of characters representing its decimal or hexadecimal value. Internally, we can store in the form of binary number, it will occupy 2 or 4 bytes of memory, but externally we can represent it as a string of characters, either in using decimal or hexadecimal value. In a text file, each line of data ends with a new line character and each file ends with a special character called the end of file marker. So every line will ends with the new line character. Every file ends with the end of file marker. Now we will discuss about binary files. Binary files are mainly used to store data beyond text, such as images, executables, audios, videos, etc. A binary file is a file which may contain any type of data enclosed in binary form for computer storage and processing. It includes files such as word processing, PDFs, images, spreadsheets, video, zip files, and other executable programs. Like a text file, a binary file is a collection of bytes. A binary file is also referred to as a character string with the following two essential differences. A binary file does not require any special processing of the data, and each byte of data is transferred to or from the disk unprocessed. Python places no constructs on the file, and it may be read from or written to in any manner the programmer wants. While text files can be processed sequentially, binary files, on the other hand, can be processed sequentially or randomly depending on the needs of the application. In Python, to process a file randomly, the programmer must move the current file position to an appropriate place in the file before reading or writing data. Binary files store data in the internal representation format. Therefore, an integer value will be stored in binary form as a 2-byte value or 4-byte value. The same format is used to store data in memory as well as in the file. Like text file, binary file also ends with an end of file marker. Text files can contain only the basic characters and do not store any information about the color, font, and size of the text. Examples of text files include files with extension .txt or .py extension. These files can be opened with Windows Notepad. These files can be easily read, and the contents of the files are treated as an ordinary string value. Binary files, on the other hand, cannot be read by text editors like Notepad. If you open a binary file in Notepad, we will see some scrambles. So that is undefined way, and absurd data. So that is inappropriate data. Now the last topic, opening and closing files. So what operations we can perform on a file means, in a file in a Python, a file operation takes place in the following order. So already we have discussed this. First we will open the file, then we can perform the operation either read or write, or we can perform append, and finally close the file. So first we will see how to open a file. So Python has a built-in function called open to open a file. It takes a minimum of one argument as mentioned in the below syntax. And what is the every function we know returns something. So the open method returns a file object which is used to access the write, read, and other built-in methods. So now coming to the syntax. So file object. So already we know that the open function will return an file object. So whenever it returns, we have to store it. So that's why we have created one file object variable equal to open, and already we told that we need minimum one argument. So that is file name, comma access mode. So now here, file name is the name of the file or the location of the file that we want to open. We can, if we are working in a current working directory, then simply we can specify the file name. Or if we are working on a some folder and we want to open a file that is in another folder, then we can use the location of the file. And file name should have the file extension and it has to be included as well, which means in test.txt the term test is the name of the file and .txt is the extension of the file. The second argument is access mode indicates the mode in which the file has to be opened. So for what purpose we have opened the file, either for read or write or append etc. or any other operation. So we have various access modes. Now we will see what are the various access modes. So the first one is R. So that is a read mode. So read mode is used only to read data from the file. And the second mode is W, write mode. This mode is used when we want to write data into the file or if we want to modify the file. So we have to remember that whenever we open a file in write mode, it will overwrite the data present in the file. And A, so A is append mode. Append mode is used to append data to the file. And remember that data will be appended at the end of the file pointer. So what is the difference between the write and append means? So for example, when we open a file that is not existing with mode W, it will create a new file and in a new file we can write the data. But if we open the file with written mode, if the file is existing, so that means the file is existing means already it has some data. The data will be erased and it will write the new data onto the file. That means the previous data, whatever that is existing in the file, it will be erased. But in append mode, it does not erase and the new data will be added after the already existing content. Next, the mode is R plus. So that is a read or write mode. So this mode is used when we want to write or read the data from the same file. And W plus. So to open a file for both write and read data, it will overwrite existing data as previously we discussed. A plus means append and read mode. This mode is used when we want to read data from the file or append the data into the same file. So now WB, it will opens a file in binary format for writing only. And X, so to open a file in exclusive creation mode for write operation. If the file already exists, then we will get file exist error. Coming to the file object attributes, once a file is opened, a file object is written. Using this file object, we can easily access different types of information related to the file. What are the file object attribute means? The following are the list of file object attributes. File object dot close. So returns true if the file is closed, false otherwise. Now file object dot mode. So every file is opened with an mode. So mode in which the file is opened. Then file dot name. So it will display name of the open file and file dot readable. So returns boolean value indicates that whether the file is readable or not. Then file dot writable returns boolean value indicates that whether file is writable or. Now we will see one example. So we will write a program to open a file and check the list of attributes. So for this, I have created a text file with any data and I have saved this file as python.txt. So now I will write a Python program and use the above created file python.txt. Now currently I am working on this folder. So now I have created a python.txt file. So this is the file. So simply I have stored cbit I2 section 2. Hi, hello, bye. So now this is the file content. So now the first program. So how to open the file, and we will see the file objects. So now F5. So I have taken a file object F5 equal to open. So now first, what is the first argument? File name. So now I am working in the current working directory. So simply I will use the file name python.txt and mode. So mode equal to R. So now I am opening the file for only the read purpose. So now print name of the file. So already we have discussed this object attributes. So now fi.name will displays the name of the file. So fi.name and print closed or not. So whether to know whether the file is closed or not, fi.close, then print opening mode, fi.mode, fi.mode. So simply it will display in which mode we have opened the file. Then print file is readable. So fi.readable. So readable and writable are the functions, and these are the only attribute values. So file.readable and print file is writable, fi.writable. So now whenever we run this program, so now first it will display name of the file. So python.txt closed or not, it will return a boolean value. So that's why simply false. We have opened the file and we have not closed the file. And what is the opening mode? So now we have opened the opening mode for only read purpose. And so in which mode we have opened? Read. So that's why file is readable, true, and file is writable, false. Now this is the output of the file, and we can see closing of a file. So after completing our operations on the file, it is highly recommended to close the file. So for this, we have to use the close function. Python automatically closes a file when the reference object of a file is reassigned to another file. But as a good programming practice, we should always explicitly use the close method to close a file. The syntax of close is the file object dot close. The close method frees up any system resources such as file descriptors, file logs, etc. that are associated with the file. Once the file is closed using the close method, any attempt to use the file object will result in an error. Now we will see a program to access a file after it is closed. So now this is the example program. Now this is the example program for closing a file and what happened after closing the file if we access the file. So now we have created the same file object fi equal to open python.txt and mode equal to R and print name of the file fi.name. So simply it will print the name of the file and print opening mode fi.mode. So simply it will print what is the mode and print file is now being closed. We cannot use the file object F5. So now at this point we are closing the file and we are not going to use the file object F5. So now here we have closed the F5.close. So that is we have closed the file object here. Then we have printed the file is closed Fi.close. So simply it will print true. Then print file is readable and file is writable. So now whenever we run this program, so simply it will print. So name of the file python.txt and opening mode is R and file is now being closed. You cannot use the file object F5 and file is closed means true, but file is readable and writable means already it was closed. Further, we cannot access the file object attributes. So that's why simply it will print an error. So trace back most recent call last file. So now it will use the entire file path, absolute file path, and in line 7 in module, print file is readable fi.readable. So value error. It is called as value error, that is input output operation is on a closed file. So that means we are performing an input and output operation on a closed file. So this is the output we will get whenever we perform an operation to access a file after it is closed. So in this video we have covered introduction to file concepts and types of files, then file path, and finally we have seen two operations, how to open the file and close the file. Thank you all for listening this video. Happy learning.